So I was doom scrolling as usual, just minding my own business, when I found something that deeply upset me. Not in a the world is ending kind of way, as is usual nowadays, just in a what am I looking at kind of way. IKEA has a sitcom now?
Life in stitches. When the world feels big and you're small and so in a Swedish warehouse you call your home for life.
Yes, IKEA, the furniture store, is following a short video strategy now, where their stuffed animals act out these little soap opera-like episodes. And the worst part is, I actually really like it. It's creative, it's cute, it's weirdly charming, but it's also completely bizarre. This isn't TV, this isn't animation, it's literally just their stuff. IKEA products made into characters. And it kinda works, I guess. The bear has been a meme for a while anyway, and IKEA has managed to make their things more relatable than many brand mascots. But that got me thinking, why is IKEA such a big presence in so many people's lives anyway? From my experience, especially for students, half their apartments are basically IKEA. Not just bed frames and shelves, but also the small stuff like mugs or the fake plant you have in your bathroom. IKEA doesn't just sell furniture, it sells the whole package. It sells stuff. So giving personalities to the stuffed animals that many of us probably have lying around somewhere anyway is maybe not that surprising. IKEA has always been in the business of selling us more than just products. Part of the psychology of having you build the stuff yourself is that you form a connection with it. This is yours. You made this. IKEA is selling a feeling, a version of ourselves that is ready to be assembled out of different stuff they sell. Which leads me to my real question. What the heck is a Labubu? Humans just love stuff. Always have, always will. We like to say we're not materialistic, but I mean, at least a little. And it's not necessarily expensive things, or just the things we need to survive. What I want to talk about today is the little, useless things. A snow globe from a vacation, a mug from a thrift store, that souvenir keychain you got that you'll never use, but you'll also never throw away because it's from a trip to Italy and it has a lot of meaning to you personally, and you like to remember the good times, but you also don't really feel like ever using it because it's honestly pretty. Walk into almost any home and you'll find that sort of clutter. Objects that don't really serve a purpose, but we keep them anyway. Maybe because they remind us of something, or maybe just because they make the space feel less empty. Even pets kind of do this. If you have a dog, they probably obsessed over that one particular stick at some point in time. There's something that feels universal about picking one thing out of a pile of things and just saying, this one matters to me now. But why? Why do we build our lives with layers of stuff? Why do we love surrounding ourselves with things? Gone Home is a game about memory and family. It's also a game about stuff. You play as Katie, coming home from a year abroad, only to find your family's new house completely empty. No one's there to greet you. Your parents and sister are gone. The entire game just takes place in that house, and not a single other character ever appears on screen. All you have are the things they left behind. But it's enough. By opening closets, flipping through notebooks, rummaging in drawers, you start to build a picture of the people who live there. What they like, their hobbies, their fears, their secrets. And it's all told through objects. And the game manages to make it feel weirdly authentic. It seems like everything has been placed with intent. Because the things we own usually aren't random, they are choices. Which cereal brand ends up in the pantry, which soap sits by the bathroom sink. If your room is tidy or messy, the novels you keep proudly on a shelf versus the things shoved in the box under the bed. Every object in a home is a decision, and taken together, all of these decisions make up a person. The object I remember most from Gone Home after playing it probably 10 years ago is not a key item or anything story significant. It's the Christmas duck. A ceramic duck painted in green and red. It's at the beginning of the game, and its only point is that the front door key is hidden underneath it. But somehow it's unforgettable to me. Something about it just seems really familiar. I can just see a suburban mom hiding a key under it for emergencies, feeling really clever. And I can immediately imagine the kind of person who would buy it in the first place. It's kitschy, a little embarrassing, but also really endearing. Also, why a Christmas duck? It doesn't make any sense. And Gone Home is far from the only piece of media that takes stuff this seriously. For WALL-E, for example, Trash and mundane human things are how he tries to be part of the now-gone human experience. Ariel sings about forks and candlesticks as treasures and her way of connecting with the human world. Sitcom sets like on Friends or How I Met Your Mother never show empty walls. The clutter is part of what makes them feel lived in. I'm currently rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and there's so many random details like posters and just small objects in the background, it's actually quite impressive. And it makes the world just feel lived in. So what I'm getting at is, we don't tell stories just by using characters and dialogue, we also tell them through stuff. And that's a simple but powerful point that Gone Home makes. Stuff is story, stuff is character. Things that are scattered around a room are more than decoration. They're a long sequence of choices, of relationships, of identities. Our homes are basically autobiographies, written in stuff. Even the trivial things, the postcards, the mixtapes, my sweet angel Christmas duck, hold meaning. And sometimes, through objects, we really come to understand the people behind them. So we talked about how stuff could tell a story, but sometimes stuff isn't as much a tool for telling a story. Sometimes stuff is like the whole point itself. Some games don't use objects as background or character detail. They build their entire loop around the simple idea of getting more and more. The Sims is a game about managing simulated life and all its ups and downs. It's also a game about stuff. On the surface, The Sims looks like a digital dollhouse. You create characters, move them into a little starter home, and play out their lives. Go to work, build relationships, maybe start a family. It's pitched as a life simulator. But when you play, you realize that the core loop isn't really built around living a life, it's built around accumulating stuff. I mean, what's a dollhouse without some shiny new furniture once in a while? Your sim goes to work, earns money, and then you can spend that money on furniture. A nicer bed, a bigger TV, a pool in the backyard. That stuff makes your sim happier, which makes them more productive at work, which earns you more money, which you can then use to buy even more stuff. And the cycle repeats and repeats. Progress in the Sims games doesn't mean a richer inner life or better relationships. Progress means a better house, filled with better things, which kind of made me think about a bigger question. Do we buy stuff for what it is or for what it says about us? Do we want it for ourselves, or do we want others to see us having it? And that's where The Sims feels more like a suburbia simulator. The game takes for granted the cultural mindset that a good life is measured by the things you own, the size of your house, and the idea that your worth increases when your possessions outshine your neighbors. It's basically keeping up with the Joneses turned into a gameplay loop. A kitchen full of top-tier appliances or a bathroom with a gold-plated toilet. These aren't just practical necessities, they're also status symbols. The Sims might pretend to be about living, but it also implies that life is connected to stuff. And that having more stuff is what makes you successful. And so many games quietly teach us the same thing. Progress equals more stuff. Skyrim is a game about becoming powerful enough to save a kingdom from the return of the dragons. It's also a game about stuff. What do players actually do? Collect and craft the strongest weapons and equipment. Fill entire houses with armor they will never use. You're a stealth archer, you don't need this axe. Because the act of collecting things, of stacking objects just to have them, is oddly satisfying. Animal Crossing is a game about building a new life in a small town or island. It's also about stuff. The game is literally about buying furniture, decorating your house, and filling out a catalog of objects. The villager interactions are cute, but the real endgame is showing off your perfect island and house, and your filled-out museum. For some players, it's even about having a specific popular villager on their island as a status symbol in itself. Pokémon is a game about friendship and growing, and who are we kidding, the tagline is gotta catch them all. It's about accumulating hundreds of creatures, even if you'll only ever use 6 at a time. Uma Musume is a game where you can race. It's also a game about stuff. Many gacha games follow the same loop. Grind for currency, roll for the limited new character, and repeat. It's less about playing with what you have, and more about keeping your collection up to date whenever something new is released. And I get it. It is really exciting when you get the Rainbow Stable and draw a rare character, even if you're never going to use them. All these games circle back to the same idea. They turn stuff into a measurement for success. Not relationships, not inner growth, not beating a story. Just more objects, more characters, filling more space just for the sake of doing it. You don't need that enchanted sword or the box legendary, but why not get it? And the weird part is, we barely notice. We just do it, it feels natural, it feels obvious, as if collecting and upgrading is simply how the world works. But of course, it's not just game mechanics, it's a cultural script. The same script that shaped suburbia, that tells us that success means a bigger house than your neighbors, a better car in the driveway, a kitchen full of the latest appliances. And if having the most things is the end goal, we learn to keep score through how much stuff we have. Life in Stitches is a show about... Wait, we already talked about that one. Of course, the IKEA sitcom is about stuff. I mean, it's creative, and I actually like it, but after all, it's still an ad. It's a way of making products feel like characters, so that buying them feels like being part of the story. Wait, that seems familiar. Companies have been doing that for decades. Especially in the 80s, the line between toy and cartoon basically disappeared. Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, all of them were cartoons, of course, but they were also ads for the toys. Characters were to be marketable action figures first, the writing often came second. And ultimately, story and merchandising were two sides of the same coin, especially in media aimed at children. The story gives the objects meaning, and the objects let you replay the story at home. And of course you sell the action figures, playsets, lunchboxes, bed sheets, backpacks, and everything can become part of the same branded world.
Stay tuned for the Mattel and Mars Bar Quick Energy Chocobot Hour.
Put down those entertaining Mattel products. Colonel Katafi is up to his old tricks.
And here's the thing, that logic never really went away. If anything, it grew up with us. Because it's not just children building their worlds around toys and brands. Adults do it too. We just call it lifestyle or aesthetic. Ever met a Disney adult? Ever met someone whose identity is based on owning an Apple product? Then you already know what I'm talking about. Which brings us to Barbie. Mattel figured out decades ago that Barbie isn't just a doll. Barbie is a worldview, an aesthetic, life in plastic. It is indeed fantastic. What am I doing with my life? And with the success of the Barbie movie, and especially with pop culture and social media obsessing over it, it became obvious. This isn't just a marketing gimmick, it's a cultural logic. We take objects, give them personality, build stories around them, and then start shaping our own identity to fit in that world we build. Labubu is a creature plushie. I'm honestly still not entirely sure. It's also about stuff. And I have to give it that, it is a memorable design. I just don't fully get the trend. Labubu is a collectible trinket that is sold through a kind of gaming loot box system, but in real life. You buy a non-see-through box, and if you're lucky, I guess you get a rare one?
24 karat gold, Labubu.
So, as the grumpy old man I am at heart, I immediately want to hate this. Paying for something without knowing what it is, spending more money because you didn't get the version you wanted the first time. But as we established earlier, this is nothing new, to be honest. Aside from many people just thinking the design is cute, Labubu is also about status. It's about being in on a trend and about showing that you're part of a community of collectors. It's not just about owning an object, it's about the chase, the reveal, the gamble. It's about showing other people that you got the rare one.
24 karat gold, Labubu.
And it's really not a new thing. Me calling it a loot box system makes it sound much more modern than it actually is. It's not that different than things like trading card booster packs or other mystery bag sales that have been around forever. And honestly, people have been chasing collectible trends for decades. Funko Pops turned every character under the sun into the same little vinyl figures, so you can line them up and show your unique combination of favorite shows. And do we have to talk about Beanie Babies?
Teeny beanie babyitis.
Now at McDonald's, your kids can get teeny beanie babies and a Happy Meal.
These were everywhere for a while, and apparently people were convinced that the stuffed animals would be great investment opportunities. You told me to invest in Dogecoin.
This teeny beanie babyitis, will she outgrow it?
Not necessarily.
In the late 90s in Germany, we had the unfortunately named Diddle, a cartoon mouse that was used on things like school supplies and stationery, and it achieved cult status for some reason, with both children and adults collecting and trading different designs. I also never got that one. I remember the other kids trading like scented pieces of paper with the designs on them, and stuff like this stops being stuff at some point. It starts becoming a signal. A shelf of Funkos doesn't just show what you own, it tells people what shows you love and what fandoms you're part of. You don't collect little paper to write on it, you collect it to have it. You can compare this to things like souvenirs, magnets, or keychains. It's not about the object or its function, it's about having a portable memory, a little miniature narrative, so to speak. And once you start looking at it that way, every collection becomes less about the objects themselves and more about the collector. And all of it adds up to a lifestyle, to the way we use objects to tell stories about ourselves. Your childhood toys, age-old souvenirs, or the trend you liked in 2025. You don't really need any of this, but everything is still part of who you are. But it also means that the collection is never complete. So keep buying. For better or worse, life goes on, culture keeps moving, and new trends will keep emerging. There will always be another thing for you to add to your collection, and a new interest for you to discover. And in a way, that's beautiful. You can look back at a specific item and remember where you got it, who you were with, what person you were. But what the fuck is that? But for every new thing, there's also the old things we carry with us. Maybe it's just me, but when I move apartments, there's this eerie feeling I can't quite describe. You know, it's when everything is packed in boxes and you look at empty shelves, and it kind of feels like part of you is missing. For some reason, all this stuff carries deeper meaning than we would like to admit. Like, we want to think that stuff isn't that meaningful, but also you wouldn't just leave all your stuff behind. So why do we need all this stuff to feel complete in the first place? Why does it feel like our lives, our spaces, even our identities would kind of be empty without it? We like to say that we are not materialistic, that things don't matter as much as people. And of course that's true. But it's also true that some things stick with us more than we like to admit. From more meaningful objects like family heirlooms to the technically worthless things, like an old letter or this bunny I got in preschool. We don't just live with stuff, we live through it. The shirt you chose, the poster on your wall, the mugs on your cupboard. You got them because you like them, but in return, they reaffirm who you are as a person. And of course, there's more to life, but things aren't just decoration. Stuff isn't just background. It's also identity. Life is about self-expression, experiences, relationships. It's also about stuff.